Lee Kuan Yew and Rodrigo Duterte, popularly known as Totri Digong, are two prominent political figures from Southeast Asia, with Lee serving as the founding Prime Minister of Singapore and Duterte as the President of the Philippines. Rodrigo Duterte has expressed admiration for Lee Kuan Yew, citing him as a model for strong leadership and effective governance. Duterte has often mentioned Lee in the context of his own policies, particularly regarding law and order and economic development. He appreciates Lee's ability to transform Singapore into a prosperous and orderly society. Despite their different contexts and governance styles, there are several similarities between the two leaders. Both leaders are known for their assertive and sometimes authoritarian leadership styles. They have prioritized decisive action, often bypassing bureaucratic processes to implement their policies. Both Lee and Duterte emphasize the importance of law and order in their governance. Lee Kuan Yew's campaign against crime and corruption helped transform Singapore, while Duterte's war on drugs has been a central theme of his presidency, albeit with controversial methods. Both leaders place significant importance on economic development. Lee Kuan Yew is credited with transforming Singapore into a global economic hub, using pragmatic policies to attract foreign investment. Duterte also aimed to spur economic growth in the Philippines through infrastructure projects and economic reforms. Both Lee Kuan Yew and Duterte are pragmatic in their approach to governance. Lee Kuan Yew was famous for making decisions based on practical results rather than ideology, a principle that helped him transform Singapore. Duterte has been similarly pragmatic, focusing on immediate problems like crime, drugs, and corruption in a manner that often disregards traditional diplomatic or institutional norms. Both leaders expressed a strong sense of nationalism and prioritized the interests of their respective countries. They both promoted policies that aimed to strengthen national identity and independence in the face of external pressures. Lee and Duterte adeptly used media to communicate their messages and connect with the public. Lee was known for his articulate and persuasive speeches, while Duterte has used social media effectively to reach a broad audience and mobilize support. Both leaders have faced criticism for their policies and governance methods. Lee Kuan Yew's stringent laws and policies were sometimes seen as repressive, while Duterte's approach to crime and drug-related issues has drawn international condemnation for alleged human rights violations. Both leaders cultivated a strong connection with the public through populist rhetoric. Lee Kuan Yew, though not as overtly populist in the traditional sense, often emphasized his role as a leader who could save Singapore from instability. Duterte, on the other hand, used populist language to appeal to ordinary Filipinos, presenting himself as a man of the people who was unafraid to challenge the establishment. Both men pursued foreign policies that sometimes sparked controversy. Lee Kuan Yew was known for his pragmatic approach to diplomacy, often balancing relations between major powers like the US and China. Duterte's foreign policy has been marked by his pivot towards China and his criticisms of traditional Western allies, particularly the United States. Both men exhibited a concern for their legacies and the long-term future of their countries. Lee Kuan Yew carefully crafted Singapore's development model, while Duterte has worked to reshape Philippine politics and governance according to his vision. Leadership is often defined by the ability to make tough decisions and inspire loyalty. Rody Duterte and Lee Kuan Yew exemplify this in strikingly different ways. Duterte's approach was marked by a fierce, no-nonsense attitude, tackling crime with an iron fist. His controversial methods sparked debate, but they undeniably galvanized a nation craving change. On the other hand, Lee Kuan Yew's legacy lies in his visionary governance. He transformed Singapore from a struggling port into a global powerhouse through strategic planning and a focus on education. His emphasis on meritocracy and anti-corruption laid a strong foundation for sustainable growth. While there are similarities, it is also essential to recognize the differences in their contexts, ideologies, and specific approaches to governance. While also an authoritarian figure, Duterte employed a populist and brash leadership style. He is known for his fiery rhetoric, direct communication with the masses, and unfiltered comments. Duterte's foreign policy has been much more confrontational and unpredictable. The FPRRD, or the Duterte administration, and Lee Kuan Yew, the founding fathers of modern Singapore, represent two distinct approaches to governance. Duterte's tough-on-crime stance and controversial policies aim to address the Philippines' long-standing issues with drugs and corruption. He believed in decisive action, often prioritizing security over civil liberties. In contrast, Lee Kuan Yew's vision for Singapore was rooted in pragmatism and economic development. He transformed a resource-poor island into a global financial hub through strategic planning and a focus on education and innovation. While Duterte's methods sparked debate and division, Lee's legacy is often celebrated for stability and growth. Both leaders faced immense challenges, yet their legacies remind us that governance is a complex balancing act between authority and progress. Both leaders teach us that effective leadership requires a blend of decisiveness and vision. Whether through Duterte's bold actions or Lee's calculated strategies, the essence of leadership is about making choices that resonate with the people you serve, even if those choices are sometimes unpopular.